Hey Bottomsville, hey Syracuse, hey Central New York. Gwen McDonald. I'm here with Elizabeth, who is from Blue Pelvic Physical Therapy. Come on, if I know it doesn't have to be just female, but tends to happen to us. Might be over a certain age, or if you've just recently given birth. But we got the holidays. We just finished Thanksgiving. Now we're with the complete holiday stress push for not only Hanukkah but Christmas. A lot of things to do. What can we do to ease the stress and maybe help out our pelvic floor area?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny you say that. I often get an increase in either referrals and or patients that I've had that are having increased symptoms around this time because stress is a huge factor in what's going on with your pelvic floor. Stress being in how it affects your nervous system can look like stress of emotional stress, things that you're doing, things that are going on, things that you're preparing for. It can be physical stress. It can be pain, things going on with your hips or with your core. When I'm thinking of what we can do, even if it's just to preemptively, or, if we're not having any symptoms, or we're not quite there yet, or we're having increased symptoms, and we're just trying to keep the threshold level rather low so that we are not going into having symptoms. Things that I think of are breathing. How well you are having or you're doing with your diaphragm can really affect, actually, if I can grab this guy, I always talk about how your diaphragm, the bottom of your ribcage muscle, has a big impact on what's going on with your pelvic floor because they work in conjunction. If you're having good breathing, if you're taking nice big deep breaths, if we're getting good movement in the diaphragm, then you're going to be getting good movement in the pelvic floor. And sometimes people will say, well, Liz, I don't want movement. I want everything to be held tightly so that nothing is escaping. And ideally for any muscle in your body, you want to have good movement because that's how you're going to have good strength. You want to have good blood flow, good circulation, and that can stem from making sure the diaphragm's working really nicely, taking good deep breaths, which we probably all don't do enough of in this season.
So what's the best way to do? Take a deep breath through your nose, through your mouth, the belly, something of that nature? I often it can be different for people depending on how they feel or what's going on with them or their past medical history, but thinking about doing a good deep belly breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. I often have people put hands right on their belly so they can see it moving. If you're having movement in that canister, then you can assume at the bottom and the pelvic floor down here, then you're going to be having some good movement as well. Sometimes I'll have people do a 4-6. So if you're breathing in for a count of 4, I want you to breathe out for a count of 6. We live in more of this respiratory inhalation state, and oftentimes bringing yourself into that exhalation, putting an exhalation a little bit longer than the inhalation can bring our nervous system down into a less wound up or upregulated system. So that can be really helpful. And you can do that while you're just like driving from kids to school, picking them up.
Oh, sure.
Going shopping, all that fun stuff. There's always an opportunity to do some deep breathing, riding on 31.
Yes, definitely.
Through the village. Always great opportunity to do that. What about caffeine? Like, can I still have my coffee and will that irritate? Or
I still have my coffee, and I would never have someone to do something that I wouldn't do. And really, when we're thinking about bladder irritants, they are particular to that person. So at one point, the thought was, tell everyone that they can't have on this list, it's a bladder irritant. But what we know more recently is that there are things that might affect you that might not affect you or your bladder like that to your neighbor. And so figuring out for you what that irritant is, if it is caffeine, if it is alcohol, sulfates, it can be different. And it's not so much that we have to say, cut that out because this whole list could be your trigger, but you might find that you're having something and that caffeine is for you a trigger. So maybe there's a certain point to you're like, oh yeah, I don't feel any symptoms. I'm going normally with 1 cup. And then if you're up to 2 or 3 cups a day, you're like, gosh, I can definitely feel this because I'm going every hour after that happens. So I would say looking into that or even doing a little diary can be helpful.
What about fresh air? Does that make a difference?
I think it makes a huge difference to your nervous system. And I think people will come in and into anything. I think that we think pelvic floor, pelvic floor clinic, this is going to be all about the pelvis and the muscles in the pelvis. But I do operate from a standpoint that we are a whole body. Our mind is a big part of our body. It controls everything. And so to think about our nervous system, which we know has a big impact on the pelvic floor, if we can have, we know the data on sunlight and fresh air and how that helps the nervous system and especially in times of stress. And, we think about this area, this time of year, we're not going to see a lot of sunlight.
No. And we have this at least I do, or I want to hibernate during this time frame. And I have to resist and just force myself outside because
which is fabulous.
I just, during it, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But afterwards, I'm like, okay, that felt good. So I always say, hey, Central New York, we're here. Embrace it. There are a lot of great things to do outside, and it helps reduce stress.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Absolutely.
So, thank you. I appreciate it. And you do not need a doctor's referral, correct? If you wanted to work on your pelvic floor and your core, dead bugs rule.
Yes, you don't need a doctor's referral for the first 30 days for physical therapy in New York. So you could reach out and we could get started or figure out what would be a good plan for you from there.
Perfect. See? Thank you.
Thank you.